Squid Game, Squid Game, Squid Game. Squid Game, I'm giving 4 stars out of 5. I love this show. This show was awesome. It had me hooked the entire time. I even liked a lot of the parts that a lot of people didn't like. I still had my own issues with it, parts that I thought sucked. But overall, the show was fantastic. This isn't the first time a show like this has been done, where it's kind of like a death game format. But it is one of the first times, or the only time I've seen, where they've done a format like this, and it's been like children's games that are super simplistic. So that's kind of a really cool twist. I also like the twist of adding money to the equation, so we kind of see just how desperate people could get and just how greedy people can get. And it's also a great way of kind of explaining, like, why would somebody do something like this? Like, nobody would ever risk death for something. It does an excellent job of explaining the dire circumstances that each contestant is in and why they would want to come back to the game and play and get all this money, because they realize their life outside the game is even worse than in the game, and they'd probably rather die than be in the massive amounts of debt that they're in the real world. The design of the games themselves were sick. Every single one was iconic. The first one with red light, green light was awesome. Honeycomb was great. Honeycomb was probably the weakest, I'd say, of all the games that they played, but it was still a great way to sort of establish how the main character's buddy was an asshole and was just trying to get him killed, essentially. Tug of War was great, especially because your boy used to play a little tug of war at football camp back in high school. And it was cool to actually see them use real strategy in tug of war to ultimately win. That game was awesome. The marble episode, one of the best episodes I've ever seen in a TV show. That was so brutal, and it was a total gut punch. And I honestly didn't think that they were going to go through with all the deaths that they wound up going through with. I thought that the main character's buddy wasn't going to screw over that other dude, and he did. And I was like, well, he screwed him over, but maybe because he kind of violated the rules of the game, maybe they'll let him go. Nope, they shot him in the head, because technically he didn't violate the rules of the game, and he proved himself to be a real asshole. When the pickpocket chick is throwing the marble and she throws it, and then the other chick that she's playing with drops hers on purpose so that she loses, I almost teared up at that scene, because that was so badass that she was willing to throw just because she wanted this person to live and go on. I thought that was awesome. And then the stuff with the main character and the old man was awesome too, where he's like talking to him, and I knew it. I knew the old man was faking his dementia and that he knew he was screwing him over. I knew the old man was up to something. He was testing him, and he tried to swindle him. And so he like didn't pass the test. And then the old man let him have the marble anyway, which we find out later was a bunch of bullshit. But it was a very emotional moment when they hugged. That was another time that the wrestler almost cried, okay? Oh, I didn't really like the part where they were all fighting at night, because you couldn't see shit. And I didn't like the flashing lights. And that was a dumb way of eliminating a lot of people. It makes sense narratively that they're like, oh, we're going to let each other kill each other because we want to see all these people at their lowest point murdering one another just so they can get money. But I didn't like the way it was shot. There's too much flashing lights. It looked dumb. The glass game was awesome. I loved the glass game. That was really intense. Of course, our main character got lucky by going last. But I loved everything about that, except one thing. The two villainous people, the gangster dude and then the crazy chick, the fact that they died the way they did, I hated that. That was the thing that I hated the most about this show. That woman was so annoying. I wanted to see her die at the hands of one of the main characters, especially the main character. And I also didn't like that they kind of killed each other. I wanted to see them get a better comeuppance than that. It was lame. I didn't like that the chick took the gangster dude out. I wish they would have had a more punishing end than that. It was just very anticlimactic for how unlikable those characters were. The cop stuff was great, and I liked the way it ended because it looked like the cop very blatantly was shot in the shoulder by his brother, who his brother turned out to be the front man. So it looks like there's a pretty good chance that dude's going to come back if they decide to do a second season. Cop stuff was good. It definitely feels like it's not finished, and it was purposefully shot the way that it was so that it could continue later on. Didn't have a very satisfying conclusion, but I feel like that was intentional. Oh, the American actors that were playing like the rich people were awful. Their like accents and stuff were terrible. The dialogue was terrible. that I hated all that. The final sequence where the pickpocket chick gets killed by the main character's buddy, including the Squid Game right after that, was awesome. All of that was fantastic. I loved every second of it. Loved the way that ended. Big fan. After that, a lot of people seem to be split on this. I actually liked the way the main character handled himself after that, because I like the idea that he was so grief-stricken by everything that transpired there that he wasn't even willing to touch any of that ridiculous money that he won. I think it just really solidified that the main character was somebody to root for, that he was a good person at heart. And I think the part at the very end when he's with the old man who reveals that he was, you know, the head behind all of it, I think that was awesome, how he believed that there were still good people left, and ultimately, even as the old man died, there were good people left because they went to go rescue the homeless person that was freezing on the side of the street. I also loved the red hair that he gets at the end, and I love that he didn't get on the plane to go see his daughter, because I love the fact that he is that death and killing and stuff that happened at the Squid Game weighs so heavily on his conscience that he has to go back and he has to get revenge on these people for putting him through all that and putting all those other people he knew through that. That is such a heroic thing to do. I know it's very easy to be like, no, go see your daughter. But if it's at a point where you can't even live your life anymore because you're so inside your own head because of a traumatic experience, then that's great that he's going to go try to figure that shit out. So a great show overall. I give it 4 stars out of 5. Awesome show. Hope we get a second season. Agree, disagree, think you could survive in the Squid Games and win all that money? Let me know down in the comments. This has been The Wrestler Review. Thank you for watching.